the danger is you focus on too many and you achieve none of them, or you achieve just a small amount of them. So that's really not a very good sort of strategy to employ.
The question is from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Ricky from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Rob from Thinking Focus.
And today, the question is, what is the optimum number of goals? If you actually want to hit them, that is.
Now that seems a question. I wonder if there is such a thing as optimum number of goals.
What we do know is there are too many.
Yes.
Definitely. If you've spent any time in a corporate world, there is definitely too many, isn't there?
Definitely too many. And the other complication to that is definitely poor clarity around those goals. It's interesting because there's some CIPD research that suggests that the optimum number of goals for a person is 5. There could, I guess, be some debate about the size of those goals, about the complexity of the goal itself. But actually, even if we took that as a number, the danger is you focus on too many and you achieve none of them, or you achieve just a small amount of them. So that's really not a very good sort of strategy to employ.
I suppose that when we use the term goals, actually what we're saying is areas of focus, and that could include sub-goals as well.
Yes, it could do. It's, I mean, part of that is, you get what you focus on, isn't it? So if you've got just too many things to focus on, whether they're goals, sub goals, big, small, whatever, you're sort of almost setting yourself up to fail. But of course, if you've got too few, then you could be less motivated. You could be lacking in inspiration. You could be susceptible to being bored because you just haven't got enough to do. So, we refer to goals being, it's important that goals need to be in the Goldilocks zone. In other words, just right. So if getting it right is the key thing to do, to your point that you've just raised, what we really mean there is to think about the area of focus. And the area of focus might be overall goals and including the sub goals attached to them.
Yeah, because in corporate life, it's unlikely that a goal is compact. It's unlikely that it's probably unrelated to anything else. It's likely to have an impact on other people, other teams, other processes, other systems, and therefore cannot be completed in isolation, in which case you've got to think broader, and that will inevitably lead to different strands within the goal itself.
Yes. I think, I mean, you also touched on a very interesting thing a few minutes ago about, where your focus lies. So if we're focusing on too many or focusing on too few, that I think that's only part of the story, isn't it? Because it's about what's getting your attention. So, you've told me before, I know, the sort of Warren Buffett story, haven't you? And I wonder, just tell me that again. What was the sort of the key thing around the Warren Buffett and his chauffeur conversation?
Well, again, assuming I'm remembering this right, but his chauffeur was effectively looking to achieve lots and lots of things, but was kind of getting nowhere. So Warren Buffett's approach was basically to say, well, let's list your top 25 things that you want to achieve.
Right.
Once he'd done that, he said, right, what you now need to do is focus on the top 5 and forget about the bottom 20.
Okay.
And the reason for that is the bottom 20 are the things that will keep you from achieving the top 5. You cannot dilute yourself too far, because if you do, taking your CIPD example earlier, the more you focus on, the less you get.
Right.
So actually, focus on less, but do it properly rather than spread yourself too thinly within the process. So that old adage, the people who focus on less actually achieve more because they've got less to worry about. And it's a really difficult thing to do, is to let go of the bottom 25, particularly when you're going, yeah, but that I quite like that, and I quite like that, and I quite like that. And what we're really saying is, don't make your top five though, does it?
No, and you've made that distinction, and if it hasn't made your top 5, then actually the mindset there is, or the recognition is that those other things are likely to get in the way of you achieving those top 5. So you have to make a choice, you have to decide, and it's a really interesting thing if you don't wanna let go of some things, an alternative way of looking at that is, but they could be getting it if you, as soon as you start trying to fit them all in, they're going to get in your way of achieving the ones that you think are your most important ones.
Well, there's probably an interesting way of looking at this, and this plays into your reticular activating system, assuming I've said that
Oh
right,
yeah.
by the way. Which is what you said earlier, which is you get what you focus on, and probably one of the best examples of this is when you want to buy a new car. Until you decide the type of car or even the color and type of car, actually you don't notice it other than cars. You go, that's a nice car, that's a nice car. But once you go, it is a bright red mini metro. I'm taking us back a bit there. Maybe a Ford Fiesta might be a good. Other car makes are available, by the way. But once you've made a decision on the type of car and color that you're looking for, all of a sudden, the only thing you can see on the road almost is you see exactly that car.
Your attention is taken by that, right?
But it's like when, yeah, I mean, take us both back a long way when we were first in that early stages of setting our families up, and in our wives were pregnant. When before your wives were pregnant, you didn't notice pregnant ladies very often. Once your wife becomes pregnant, or partner that is, all of a sudden all you can see is pregnant ladies around.
Yeah.
And that's your reticulating activating system kicking in, and it's playing out. You get what you focus on. But if you've got 25 things on the list to focus on, what's it looking for? Because when you narrow it down to 5, actually what it's going to do is help you to identify opportunities. It'll make connections. It will help you to achieve your goals more easily.
So that's a brilliant distinction. So that description that you've given basically means that you're programming your mind, and programming in particular the RAS, the reticular activating system, to help you with the thing that you're focused on. Yeah, because you've actually taken the time to define a goal about it, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, that programming, in a sense, of your subconscious mind, the RAS, enables you to pull your attention, or grab things that will help you with the goals that you have decided that you're going to work on.
Absolutely. I mean, it was Albert Einstein who supposedly said, if you want to live a happy life, tie it to a goal. He didn't say tie it to
Okay.
25 of them.
No, because that's a great quote, isn't it? Because it's like, well, hang on a second. If you want to achieve, in other words, then define yourself a goal to help you to achieve, because that's your definition of a happy life. Yeah.
So let's assume then that being a bit more laser-like in terms of the focus. Are there some things that we need to watch out for?
Well, I would, one of those things is to sort of think about, have you got a method for helping you to be laser like, to make some decisions about what your goal is. So first of all, let's have an optimum number of goals. Don't do too many. Don't have too few, because the too few detracts you from your motivation.
Okay.
But then think about, well, how are you going to actually get a very clearly defined goal, something that you can concentrate on, and the RAS is going to help you to grab your attention. So part of that focus, and we use goal defining methodologies. There are a number of them out there, but actually, so we come down to, in the work that we do with our clients, 4 different types. But the one that is commonly known by a lot of people is the acronym SMART, because it helps you to be focused. You use specific language to describe what it is that you want to achieve. You think very clearly about how to measure the outcome, measure the achievement, measure the success. You also have to think about the time frame in which that goal needs to be achieved, or you want it to be achieved. And then that really leaves you with just two things. And those two things are, if you like, an assessment of how achievable that goal might be and how relevant that goal is to all of the other things you've got going on in your life. So, that would be of great help if you had a goal defining method to apply to the 4 or 5 that you actually want to work on.
I imagine, and I think they're really useful, really powerful guidelines to think about, making sure that, we're clear about what success looks like, because that way we're more likely to go and achieve that.
Mhm.
But the other thing I think with goals is perhaps we need to be a little bit agile in our thinking too, because life happens, right? So things will change. And therefore, what made my top 5 today might not necessarily make my top 5 tomorrow. So actually, I might need to be a bit more flexible and not too rigid about that top 5. Clearly, the test is the R, as you described it, the relevance check.
Yeah.
How bothered am I about this top 5 now? So you wouldn't expect all 5 to change, but you might change one out that all of a sudden, and a good example of that, we talked about it earlier, is a new family. All of a sudden, your priorities will change, and therefore that top 5 will be very different because of that change in your lifestyle.
So that indicates to me, Ricky, from that description, that we need to regularly check the relevance score or relevance scale of a particular thing that we might have on our list. Because if we're not checking on it, it could be that we started out working on something that we thought was important, but actually it has been superseded by something more important, something more relevant.
It's not the relevance check, it's the botherometer.
Okay.
But no,
How bothered are you, really?
in all seriousness, it is the relevance check. Let's be clear. And you're right. Warren Buffett is basically asking his chauffeur to go, what's your top 5?
Yeah.
What are the 5 things most important? And that's the key, is most important right now to you. In other words, how relevant are they?
And I think what's really interesting to your description a few minutes ago is the use of the word agile. Because unless we have an agile mindset towards this, or a recognition that things will change and other things will come up, other things will become less important over time and be replaced by things that have become more important because of the situation, the environment, the family, the career, whatever it happens to be. That enables us to go, actually, what was important is no longer as important, and something else has become more important. So I need to recheck and rebalance and refocus and probably redefine my goal.
Absolutely. Or redefine your goals. What is now your top 5?
Recognizing that your top 5 today is not your top 5 from a year ago or 3 years ago, whatever it happens to be.
Of course. And I think if anybody tracked it back, that would be the same. But what we're really saying then, with regards to this optimum number of goals, assuming that you do want to actually hit them,
Yeah.
is do less, but do it better.
Do it better, do it well. Yep.
Don't overload. And 5 might not be right for you. It could be 4 or 3. Actually, it could be 7 or 8. Doesn't matter, because it's all about the Goldilocks effect, getting it just right in terms of balance. And I think your point earlier around the size and scope of different goals will change whether that's a top 3 versus a top 8, for example. Think about what is most important to you and focus on those. And when you focus on those, your reticulator activating system will help you and look for opportunities and connections to help you achieve your goals. But be focused in a way that allows you to regularly check, do I still believe that I can achieve my goals? And are they still the most relevant goals to be focused on right now? And allowing a level of agility to being agile to allow that top 5 to change as you see fit.
Next time on The Question Is.
So if I'm doing some learning, for me to actually make the best use of that learning. I need to reflect upon that learning for me then to transfer it to a desired outcome.
To find out how Thinking Focus can unlock the potential within your organisation, go to www.thinkingfocus.com, where you'll discover more about the work we do, helping our clients increase productivity and enable change.